Cool. Welcome back to that one random podcast. I'm Cypher.
I'm Treble.
And what we're going to talk about today is Tom Homan, who is Donald Trump's border czar. He served under Trump as the border czar for Trump during his first term, and I believe he's going to take the same position again. Has a real hard stance to illegal immigration and how to manage it. What we're going to react to is, a while back, he actually had to sit in front of the Democrats. I think they were senators or whatever he was sitting in front of, who were trying to make him look bad for the decisions he was making during his time as the border czar. But in actual fact, they all ended up looking like idiots, really. I've got some thoughts as to what the elites are doing and why all this illegal immigration and migration is happening in the US, well, not in the US, in the UK, or apply to Europe and stuff like that as well. Just a bit of insight into how they work. And I always say you need to think like the elites, you need to think like politicians to understand why they do what they do. Even when it looks like something good is happening, there's something sinister behind it or underneath it. But let's go through the clip, we'll chop it up and give our take on it, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Mr. Homan, your name is on this. Is this correct?
Yes, I signed that memo.
So you are the author of the family separation policy?
I am not the author of this memo.
You're not the author, but you signed the memo?
Yes, a zero tolerance memo.
So you provided the official recommendation to Secretary Nielsen on for the United States to pursue family separation?
I gave Secretary Nielsen numerous recommendations on how to secure the border and save lives.
But it says here that you gave her numerous options, but the recommendation was option 3, family separation.
What I'm saying, this is not the only paper where we've given the Secretary numerous options to secure the border and save lives.
And so the recommendation, of the many that you recommended family separation.
I recommended zero tolerance.
Which includes family separation.
The same as is with every U.S. citizen parent gets arrested when they're with a child.
Zero tolerance was interpreted as the policy that separated children from their...
If I get arrested for DUI and I have a young child in the car, I'm going to be separated. When I was a police officer in New York and I arrested a father for domestic violence, I separated that father from his family.
Mr. Homan, with all due respect, legal asylees are not charged with any crime.
When you're in the country illegally, it's violation 8 United States Code 1325.
Seeking asylum is legal.
If you want to seek asylum, you go through the port of entry, do it the legal way. The Attorney General of the United States has made that clear.
Okay.
Know the law. Yeah. So as a senator or whatever she is, she's sitting at AOC, trying to tell him that legal asylum seekers, that they've broken no law. But what his point was clear to see, which was you do it the legal way. If you're not doing it the legal way, then by the court's ruling, it is a crime.
You've broken the law.
You've broken the law. You've entered the country illegally.
And this is why they don't really have a leg to stand on in this argument.
Yeah.
If you've come in the country illegally, you've broken the law and should be dealt with accordingly.
Yeah.
Likewise, there is the port of entry, as he said, where you can come in legally. I mean, that was Donald Trump's stance through the whole 2016 campaign. I think it still is, where, he was saying, we want people to come. Migrants are a core backbone to the economy and to the American people. But you have to come in through the legal way. We want people to come in legally, safely, with the proper procedures and processes to get the proper documentation that they need so that they can be an upstanding citizen in this country. We don't want the riffraff. We don't want the rapists. We don't want the illegal, the coyote smuggle people.
Gang members.
They're gang members. And obviously, as the left always do, they'll twist it and they'll say Trump's being racist or this and that, and they want open borders, or what she's saying now about, splitting families. But as Tom just said there, illegal is illegal. There is a legal way for these guys to come, and many do. And I think it's unfair on the people who do go through the legal way when people are coming illegally and getting better treatment.
Yeah, totally agree with you, man. I just think she made herself look really incompetent, ignorant.
As the lefty.
But she's a bit of an airhead anyway.
Yeah, but that's the...
Don't get on, very attractive, but a bit of an airhead.
As is the case.
The pretty ones always are.
Sometimes, yeah.
All right, let's watch the rest of the clip.
Okay.
And you're the member.
We agree on that.
Fix it.
We agree.
Mr.
Holman, you have said that most immigrants are, quote, not criminals other than the criminal act that they do when they enter the country illegally. That is why I think we ought to revisit decriminalizing desperation, striking sections 1325 and 1326 of Title 8 of the U.S. Code, the statutes that the administration has leveraged to separate thousands of children from their families. Mr. Holman, do you understand that the consequences of separation of many children will be lifelong trauma and carried across generations? Have we not learned from the internment of Japanese Americans? Mr. Holman, I'm a father. Do you have children? How can you possibly allow this to happen under your watch? Do you not care? Is it because these children don't look like children that are around you? I don't get it. Have you ever held a deceased child in your arms?
First of all, your comments are disgusting. I've served my country. I've served my country for 34 years.
I find your comments
This is out of
disgusting
control.
as well.
I've served my country for 34 years. And yes, I held a 5-year-old boy in my arms in back of that tractor trailer. I knelt down beside him and said a prayer for him because I knew what his last 30 minutes of his life were like. And I had a 5-year-old son at the time. What I've been trying to do in my 34 years serving my nation is to save lives. So for you to sit there and insult my integrity and my love for my country and for children, that's why this whole thing needs to be fixed. And you're the member.
We agree on that.
Fix it.
We agree on that, but I disagree. But I also disagree with your characterization of immigrants as prone to criminality.
People for 3 decades on this.
Gentleman's time has expired.
No one in this room has seen what I've seen in my 34-year career.
Very well.
No one has experienced what I've experienced. I've saw many dead bodies coming across this border. And you want to talk about the memo? This memo is one option to stop death. Not just about enforcing the law, stop death. If you want to legalize illegal immigration, good luck with that, because it's going to get a hell of a lot worse on that border. If you say, well, okay, from now on, there will be no consequence, no deterrence. It's not illegal to come to this country illegally. More families will come. 31% women would be raped. More children would die. We're a nation of laws. If you don't like it, sir, change it. You're the legislator. I'm the executive branch. And I've served my country honorably for 34 years. And I will not sit here and have anybody say that I don't care about children because you're not the same color as my children.
Thank you very much.
I'm extremely
No,
frustrated.
Mr. Holman, I'm not calling on you, sir.
Of course not.
This is
Of
my
course not.
time.
This isn't about
You're not at
transparency.
the border.
This is ridiculous.
You're not at the border right now. You're in a hearing room.
I'm the only one in this room that stood in the back of a tractor trailer surrounded by 19 dead aliens, including a 5-year-old little boy that suffocated in death in his father's arms. I was there, and I saw, and I smelled it, and it's terrible. And I still have nightmares to this day. If we don't close the loopholes, more children would die. But it's like no one's listening. I think if you're in the country illegally, you need to be concerned because you're in the country illegally.
Mr. Holman, you have said that you plan to lead the largest mass deportation operation in history. Is that your aspiration?
The largest illegal immigration crisis on the border is going to have to result in the largest deportation operation because most of them will get order removed.
I'm just using your words. You stand by that?
Yes, absolutely.
What is that? Does that mean that you're telling the American public? I'm just trying to understand. If they're 10, 11, 12 million undocumented, I don't know, how many do you think that any one of those folks, if you're in charge, is going to face potential deportation?
I think if you're in the country illegally, you need to be concerned because you're in the country illegally.
So you're telling basically any American today, or any undocumented person here today, 11 million, that your goal, if you get power again, is you're going to lead the largest mass deportation of all of them, correct?
The biggest illegal alien crisis on the southern border. Millions of people crossing. No, you got to put it in perspective. If you believe in due process and they have the right to claim asylum, they have the right to due process and see a court, when those final orders are issued, if they're not executed, then what the hell are we doing?
I just want people to know what happens if you come into power. You've been pretty candid about it, and
yes.
So I think it's important for people to understand.
Now, Mr. Homan, as someone who oversaw a significant downturn in illegal border crossings under the Trump administration, what do you believe has been the biggest driver in skyrocketing increase of illegal immigration through our southern border under the Biden administration?
the Biden administration's policies, catch and release. They know they cross the border illegally, they'll be processed in record time because the administration keeps sending more resources to the border, not to secure the border, but to process and release. As long as they know they can cross the border, be released, get flown or transported to the city of their choice at taxpayers' dime, get lodging, health care, 3 squares a day, they're going to keep coming because there's no consequence.
Of the National Security Subcommittee, Mr. Grofman from Wisconsin for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. Just to clarify a couple of things, people make it sound like it's impossible to come here. Last year, I don't know if we have the final figures, but almost 1 million people were legally sworn in as new citizens in this country. And as far as keeping families together, we're now at a point where, depending on the month, 7,000 to 9,000 unaccompanied minors without either parent are allowed in this country, and some just taken off to foster care to somebody who's completely unrelated to them. So it is not at all true to say that people can't find a way to come here. They have all these visas, and almost a million a year are sworn in as new citizens, and we are proceeding with the process. 8,000 to 10,000 kids left in here without their parents. Now, Mr. Homan, is it a criminal act to enter the U.S. without authorization between points of entry?
Yes, a violation of Title 8, USC 1325. It's a criminal act.
Okay, so yeah, a criminal act. Many of the illegal aliens we see across the southwest border have smartphones and luggage. They also, by the way, I'll stop right there. You're familiar with the border. Do you buy in this idea that all these people coming here are destitute, or are there some people that are pretty well off given where their countries they came from?
Well, people are coming from 181 different countries, so every country's different. But like I said, you go over the immigration court data, the vast majority of these people will be ordered removed because they don't qualify for asylum. They're using a loophole by claiming asylum, saying a few key phrases taught by the cartels to get released in the United States. Many don't show up in court, and those that do show up in court that get a final order removal won't leave because the Secretary Mayorkas has said to ICE, being in the country illegally on its own isn't enough for ICE to seek an arrest, which is just going to bring more people. They know they can enter the country legally. As long as they don't commit a serious crime, ICE isn't looking for them.
Okay. The media in this administration claim that many illegal aliens come from countries with poor economic conditions or crime. Are poor economic conditions coming here from Brazil or whatever and have economic downturn? Are poor economic conditions or general fear of crime, like if somebody comes in here from Chicago, Mexico, are they valid legal grounds for granting an asylum case?
No. Asylum is escaping fear and persecution from your home state government because of your race, religion, political affiliation, or participation in a specific social group.
Okay. Well, what happens to these frivolous claims that are made by illegal aliens released by the Biden administration, assuming they even apply for asylum in the first place, and many don't? And is there an impact on the courts and the USCIS?
Well, I'll let Mr. Edlow talk about CIS, but the courts are backlogged by millions of cases. Some of these cases are going to be out 7, 8 years. So it's had a tremendous impact on the immigration courts. But again, that's by design. You flood the court system, put the hearings out 7, 8 years, then the people build equities. And when they build equities, U.S. citizen children buy a house. It makes it more difficult to remove. Vast majority become fugitives. They'll ignore the court order. They'll go into hiding, waiting for the next giveaway, waiting for the next amnesty, waiting for the next DACA.
Now, I want to just clarify some numbers here so we understand the size of the program. As I understand it, in December, over 300,000 people entered this country and were allowed in, or were gotaways who just got their way in. And when the last administration left office, that number was, depending on the month, 5,000 to 20,000. So it's increased by a factor of about 30 to 1. Is that accurate? 30 times more people coming into the interior of this country than 2 years ago?
Depending on what month you look at, but overall, like I explained earlier, total encounters were 5 times as many under this administration of Trump. And the gentleman to my left talks about percentages of people being removed under Trump, moved under Biden. Well, here's the difference. Percentages of 2.3 million It's a lot different than percentage 646. It's not about percentage, it's about how many people we release in the country. And there's zero comparison between the Trump administration and Biden administration. In the 2020 data he's talking about, let's remember, it's COVID. Immigration enforcement in the interior was shut down. So, you know, the numbers are clear. The Remain in Mexico program, a game changer. People are going to still claim asylum, but they wait in Mexico. That was a game changer. People stopped coming. People stopped putting their lives at risk. People stopped selling everything they had to come to the United States to be released. And what happened after 2 months of Remain in Mexico? They stopped coming, which means less people died. Less women were sexually assaulted. The criminal cartels made less money. Less drugs got into the country because the Border Patrol was 100% on the line, vigilant, doing their job.
Less people drowning in the Rio Grande, less people dehydrating in the Arizona desert. Amen. We have one more question. If the vast majority of illegal aliens have no legal basis to enter and remain in the U.S., why is the Biden administration releasing millions of them into our country rather than detaining and deporting them?
Because they have the same data points I have. They know that a vast majority will get order removal. But if they're not detained, the chances of ever them leaving are very slim. Again, this is by design. There are thousands of empty ICE beds already paid for by the taxpayer, but this administration would rather put them in a hotel room at $500 a night with free medical care, 3 squares a day, and you know, and the policies this administration is driving illegal immigration. They know the cartels sell the fact you can cross the border illegally, you get processed quickly, you get flown to the city of your choice at taxpayer dime, you'll be put in a hotel and be taken care of, and even when you lose your case, you're not going to be removed because the secretary told ICE, unless you're convicted of an aggravated felony or you're a national security threat, you're not a target for arrest.
All right, I think I agree. A lot was said there. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it's all getting a bit out of control, to be honest. I think, you know, I'm not trying to discredit anybody who's really going through a hard time and they need to do whatever they can for a better life. I get that. But the reality is, the numbers are unmanageable. And as this guy is saying, look, illegal is illegal. There are legal ways. Look, we're ethnic background.
My grandparents
every time we talk about
my parents.
You know, we're from the UK. So speaking on the UK side, we know that the illegal migration, the refugee crisis, whatever you want to call it, is out of control. And whenever I talk about this to people are like, oh, but you're brown, you're a foreigner. How can you say that? Blah. But you know, when
my answer always says I'm not brown. I'm brown, but I'm not a foreigner. I was born here.
I was born here.
So I'm British. So
but then they'll say, oh, but your parents came. No, my grandparents came the legal way. My mum was 16. She had to go to the British Embassy over back home and had an interview. You know, she was 16. They had an interview. If she was 18, they would have refused it. But because she was still a minor, she did an interview. She got the legal papers, and she came here legally. And then obviously, 20 years after that, you know, I'm born into the country, and I'm a natural citizen. But what the situation we have today is people coming illegally and not going through interview processes to say that they're actually going to do their bit. And it's all a bit out of control. In America,
there's no vetting in it.
There's no vetting process for it. And like he's saying there, you come illegally.
And do you know what?
Do you know
what annoys me? It's not even about brown or coloured skin. People use that because we are getting a lot of people from Middle Eastern countries and Africa and whatnot. But it is a lot of Europeans coming into the country as well, right? Okay, so let's take an example. I can't remember how many years ago it was, and this is it happened in Hanwell, which is right next to Ealing, right? In between Ealing and Southall. There was a guy from Lithuania, and it was all over the news, where a girl went missing. And the girl went down this walk path, and I knew it because I used to go past it every day. And she walked past it, and right behind her was this guy speeding on a bicycle after her, yeah? She went missing. They found out that he was the one who raped and killed her, or whatever it was, did whatever he did to her, took her life. And then they found out later on that in Lithuania, he'd spent time in prison for the same thing. So he did the same thing back in his home country, and then we brought him in here and allowed him in here. So we clearly didn't vet him well enough. So it's not just about brown people, it's about all migrants coming to the country. Whether you're European, whether you're from Africa, you should all go through the same process.
Yeah.
Really, isn't it? in a nutshell. So when people use that argument, as I say, well, it's not just about that, is it? Because it applies to white people, white Europeans as well. So yeah, I agree with what you're saying as well. And I think some of the points they were trying to make, and they were a bit stupid as well. Have you held a
that was
child
disgusting. Diabolical questioning.
A child a dead child in your arm?
And this is what they'll do.
The man's a border czar. I'm sure he has.
It's ridiculous. It's actually a disgusting question to try and put.
Yeah, I was happy with his reaction.
Yeah.
His reaction was, "That's disgusting. You're disgusting. What you said is disgusting." Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I've done? Yeah, you haven't got a clue what I've seen. None of you have seen what I've seen. You know, but this is how you reduce lives being lost by doing it properly. This is how you reduce the amount of women that are raped on the border coming across by doing things properly, legally, not illegally. So we can vet them, we can process them properly, we can understand their story, what they've gone through, but more importantly, they're safe as well at the same time. Even like we're talking about the separation of the child from the reason they do that, a lot of people don't get it, is sometimes, well, not sometimes, a lot of the times, there's kids coming across with adults who aren't even their parents, who are acting to be their parents. Yeah, go watch this movie Sicario 2. He does that. Benicio del Toro's character does that, where he's trying to get the girl back across the US border, and he says, "I'm your dad, you're my daughter, and this is your name, and this is my name." Yeah. So you know what I mean? There's no paperwork to disprove it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But for and there was also another story where a girl was given by her mother, who was going across the border with the cartel, the girl was given contraceptives so she wouldn't get pregnant, because she knew the daughter was going to get raped multiple times before she even got into the States. How effed up is that? As a mother, you're in that bad of a desperate situation to get your kid out of this poverty or whatever you're going through, that you know what's going to happen. You say, "Here, take these. Make sure you don't get pregnant."
Yeah, that's fucked.
How effed up is that? That's fucked up.
Yeah.
But you don't care about that. So
I got into an argument with the people at the Trump election night where they were, one of the questions that they brought up was, we don't agree with separating at the border. I'm like, but like you just said, sometimes, or a lot of the cases, it isn't the real parent. And he's like, but why would they lie? I was like, look, that's how you get people across the country.
Yeah, with cartel. That's how the cartel. Most of these people aren't coming through illegally. When they're coming through illegally, they're in a group with other men. Yeah, they're coming across with, like you said, coyotes who work for the cartel. Yeah, and they're thinking, "Oh, she's nice. I'll have a go at her." And who's going to stop them? None of them is going to stand up to that coyote, because they're all thinking, "Well, he's got to get us across." Yeah, and he's part of the cartel. So the cartel find out, they'll come after us. Yeah. So, what do you mean? Why would they lie?
Why would they lie? Oh yeah, and then of course, like as you said, like if a man and then you got children, make it seem like a family unit, so it looks less suspicious as well. But until separating them, until you know for sure that is the parent, I don't see a problem with that entirely.
I don't. As long as the child's being cared for and it's safe, that's all I care about. As long as there's nothing other else going on within the... Do you know what I mean? It happens everywhere. Mm-hmm. But as long as the child's safely being looked after and say, yeah, we're going to separate you temporarily, but we're going to figure out who are you to this child. Are you who you say you are? Yeah? Because the child's going to lie just to get across the border. Yeah. Yeah, so that's a dumb point that whoever you were debating with. I would have just said, okay, of course the child's going to lie. The child wants to get across the border. Yeah, the parent has told them, go, you need to get to America, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So naturally, they're going to lie. And they're with the cartel. Yeah. They're crossing with the cartel. The cartel, the Mexican cartel. Do you know what these people are like and what they do? And what they do to people who cross them? Or drop them in it? Or, do you know what I mean? Yeah. Or try and stitch them up or report them to the police. Go watch some documentaries. You will find out what the cartel will do to you. And yes, they can get hold of you anywhere. Even across the border. That's how far their power and their arm reaches. Like, you need to understand how the world works. But most people don't understand how the world works. That's what the problem is. It's just ignorance. They don't understand how it works. But yeah, look, I agree. I agree with it for that basis. Yeah, you don't know who the parents are. When I first heard about it, but the thing is, look, this started with Obama anyway. He started that, but no one had a problem with it then. But now you got a problem with it because it's Trump.
Trump, yeah.
Yeah, and everyone, I always hear that argument, and no one ever is able to answer it. They divert and try to slip out of it, which is, well, hold on, this started with Obama. Obama started doing it. Did you have a problem with it then? Well, we're talking about Trump. I'm like, no, but answer the question. Did you have a problem when Obama did it?
Of course not.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Not. It's
So,
only a problem
and that's where it
until-
started, you know?
Yeah.
So it's double standards and hypocrisy as well. But there's deeper things going on here that I don't think people realise. And I think, what's it, you always say it, I think David Icke says it, what's it called? Cause or reaction and...
Problem, reaction, solution.
Yeah, problem, reaction, solution, right? One party's in charge of problems, creating problems, and one's in charge of the solutions. Yeah? Okay. And then obviously you've got the reaction in the middle, right? You've got to let that fester among the people.
Yeah.
Yeah? So very much, I think, for me, when it comes to, from a elitist point of view, the elites literally told the Democrats, oi, wreak havoc, right? So with Trump, I think with his first election is that you need to win people over. And he did that very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't lie about that, yeah? Then it was the case of, now you need to take that power away from you and give it back to the Democrats. There you go, Democrats, here's your power.
Give it the worst leader.
Or what
could.
the people, yeah, but what we want you to do is wreak havoc.
Yeah.
Yeah, open up the borders, let everyone in, let them get into New York. Go and look at the state of New York right now. Good example, and it's happening in Canada, even as far as Canada now as well, right? Let them in, wreak havoc, etc., etc. Trump, come back in, which he is going to now, right? Now you're gonna play the hero part, right? But what you're going to introduce is biometrics, yeah, digital IDs, yeah, CBDCs, right? All these things we were against during the big C. And if you know what I'm on about, you know what I'm on about with it.
19.
Yeah. Right. Because we were all against that during the big C, yeah? And what they've learned from the big C is that you cannot forcibly take people's freedoms. You have to get them to willingly give it up, but you have to give them a reason to willingly give it up. And this is a great way of willingly getting your population in the US to give up that freedom, to give up their biometrics, to adopt the digital ID, which you were so against before, yeah, and bring in the elites plan. And that's what I feel people are missing. This is what I said, there's always something underlining. And I always said to everyone got excited when during the big C. And I said this to everyone, and they're all excited. Yeah, see, look, that digital ID is not going to come into play, which they were using as the V passport, we'll call it. Yeah,
That's fucked.
Or the medical passport.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in my opinion, yeah, and what did I say back then? I said, don't get too excited, because they'll just, remember, this is the elites. The elites have plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, right up to Z. They've got loads of plans. Yeah, they'll just find another way to try and introduce it. And I feel now they're going to use immigration to try and introduce it.
But are they going to deport, or
I think, I think,
or is the millions coming across into the Western world?
I don't think it really cares, because remember the ultimate goal was one world government. So you need a slave population as well. Yeah.
Well, this is the thing. I don't know if you got that tape video where he talks about the super brokies merging with the brokies and why they're doing that. Okay, might be one we can post later.
But my point being is, I feel like there's always something sinister behind everything good they do, and I think people need to start looking into it. And it's interesting because obviously, just remember this episode, just to kind of say, is kind of going out later than another episode we're going to do with Treble's mate Rob, where we're going to talk about Trump in a lot more detail, and in terms of Rob's a big MAGA supporter. And we're going to have a conversation, not really a debate, more of a conversation, because I'm not trying to convince him of anything, and I'm sure he won't try and convince me anything. It's just about making points and giving our points of view. Healthy discussion, which is so hard to get these days. Yeah. But I just feel like this is where Trump is seen to be putting so many good things in place, and on surface, it looks great. I can't lie. Because you look at it, and I can see how people are easily suckered into Trump. But only that, he's got a very polarizing and charismatic personality. You look at me, he's the kind of guy I can go to the pub and have a pint with, and I laugh and tell a few dirty jokes with as well, and be a lad. Yeah, so he's appealing like that.
Yeah.
And he keeps it real. Yeah, he just outbursts and says what he feels. Yeah, and that sells really well. But I feel like there's also things underneath that are quite sinister. So he may give you some really good things, yeah, but you kind of got to question as well some of the things, because what is the reason behind it? And I always think whenever a politician puts something in place, I don't just say, oh, that sounds really good. It does sound good and it is beneficial, yeah, but then what's the purpose behind it? Because they don't do it for no reason. There's going to be, if you believe like we do, which is the elites run the world, and in my opinion run Trump and run every politician, top level politician, elite level politicians, presidents, prime ministers and stuff like that, and cabinets, then you got to think from a point of view of what's going on in the background. Yeah, you got to think like, what are they trying to implement here? Is it just this, what I'm seeing on surface, or is there other things they could do with this, which is a little bit more sinister? I think from the immigration problems, and it's probably the same here in the UK, where now they're letting them flood in. You know, and the Tories were very much like, well, you can go to Rwanda, right? Wasn't it? Yeah, they will come in and right, you go to Rwanda then. Yeah, and the opposite is now Labour's like, oh, you could just come in.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. But then eventually, even I think in this country, they're going to push for the biometrics. They're going to push for the digital IDs and the CBDCs to be your evidence that you belong here. So a copper will just have to pull out the thing, right? Put your thumb on that. Okay, yeah, you're legal.
Well, I mean, they already do that.
And customers will just do that. Right now, we're going by passports, right?
Passport, yeah,
and stuff like that, and paperwork.
It's interesting because I crossed the border.
But the idea isn't so. Oh yeah, we can make it safe for you. The idea is no, we want control of you. We want control of your thought processes. Hell, actually, while you're at it, can you get a chip in your hand and a chip in your head too, please?
Yeah, shit, that's gonna.
Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
It's leading up to other things, and this is the bit that I say is sinister. So yes, on surface it looks great. But when you go underneath it and you go, do you know what I mean? You start digging underneath that great idea they're throwing out there. What else could they do with this? And that's what I see. Don't go. We're gonna, like I said, you know, this is an episode that's going a bit later than the one we got with Rob, and then that one, if you go back and listen to that one, there are things that I'm gonna bring into play and talk about, like from a woman called Whitney Webb, who's an author, researcher, and journalist, and she's done some serious book writing and articles and stuff, and she does her research diligently, and I don't want to, and she touches on a lot of this sort of stuff, and I was like, you know what, yeah, there's more to this than just, oh, we want people to come into the country, but we want you to come in legally, yeah, and obviously we don't want to destroy our infrastructure of our country. Those are the ways they sell it to the people, but then they tell you how we're going to go about doing it. And this is the way we do it. And people will sign up to it because people have bought into Trump and believe Trump's the savior. But we'll see.
We'll see, yeah.
We'll see.
But yeah, it seems almost unstoppable because I crossed the border last month at the channel where Folkestone. And normally, or what we currently do is we go up to the border control, we show our passports and stuff. But as I was going through the car park, there is a brand new facility that they're building down at the terminal, where it looks like a self-service, like a self-checkout system that they're implementing for all the cars to go through. And whether that will mean biometrics for the people in the future, because they're already doing that in most of the international airports here in the UK, where you don't go to a border officer anymore. You just scan your passport and a camera will look at your face and match it. It's almost
like that in China though.
Yeah, China. But this is the thing. Anything that happens in China is going to come to.
But I remember what David Icke said 10, 15 years ago. I remember when I first started listening to Icke, and I remember what he said. And he said, China is the test ground for everything they want to launch in the world, around the globe. So when you look at China, that is the one world government at a small scale.
And then they're going to bring it over.
And then they spread it across the rest of the world.
We're seeing it, you know, masks. They've been wearing masks 10 years ago in China, prior to any viral infection.
I can't lie either. I don't live in China, but I've seen people from the West who live in China who have YouTube channels. And I have to admit, and their standard of living, from what they show, and these are white people, black people, and all sorts of races and backgrounds. When you look at it, you think, wow, okay, cool. It looks like a pretty clean, high-tech, clean environment with a lot of beauty and stuff around it. Do you know what I mean?
In some places, yeah, for sure.
I don't know if it's like that everywhere in China.
That's
China's
the
a
thing,
massive,
it's
massive
So you're going to get that diversity.
So you don't know whether it's
But
like that
the
everywhere.
technology, my cousin was in China a couple months ago, and he was, I brought him here and I take him to Canary Wharf. I'm like, look how impressive our buildings are. And he's like, it's cool, but in China, there's buildings twice the size of these everywhere. So the scale that they've got over there. But he was also mentioning about how safe it felt, like because of the facial recognition stuff. You don't need a bicycle lock, for example. You just leave your bike anywhere. No one will take it, because if someone takes it, you just go to a police officer and be like, I left my bike here. They'll find it on the camera. They'll pick that guy up within the hour. It's that advanced with the technology.
This is what I talked about when we were working together, and I talked to you about facial recognition camera, how it can be used for good. It can be used for good, but I feel like at the same time, the powers that be can use it for
anything they want. Then that's the
scary thing about it. And it's who's in control of that power is what's worrying in that technology.
For sure.
Yeah, because let's be honest, I can't believe for 1 minute, and we hear the stories. Obviously, I don't listen to mainstream media. I listen to them, but I don't to see what bullshit they're spinning, basically.
Yeah.
But when you look at other clips and stuff you'll see on social media, it shows how the Chinese government do misuse it as well to control their population, in a sense. Do you know what I mean? You put a foot wrong, try and protest or anything like that, they've got you.
Yeah.
Bam, in the back of a black truck and van or whatever, and off you go. You know what I mean? It's done. Look, there you were. You broke the law. You're coming with us.
I mean, what's even more scary is, as we've said, look, anything that China's the test.
Because your right for protest could be taken away easily, because they'll say, well, we've got facial recognition camera now. We can pick up anyone. And we've got this law in place. You can't protest anymore.
Yep. But I remember during the 19 where there was tower blocks, and they had them on lockdown for months on end. And they were banging pots and pans to say like, yo, we need to come out because we're going to starve in here. And we're going to, there's not
because they literally bolted the doors, didn't they, from the outside or something?
Tower blocks. And obviously...
I remember seeing that.
That's crazy. If that was to happen here, it's game over for the Western world if they decide to implement that. So future's a bit mad.
It is. I mean, there's other reasons why I think immigration is coming in. I've said they're letting all these people in. If you want to police your own population at some point, you're better off having officers or officials in place on the streets who aren't from this country, because then there's no emotional attachment to your country like that. I'm British, like this is a British person, I'm not going to do this to him, I live in this country. Do you know what I mean? There's that sympathy and that empathy is not going to be there, because the person will say, well, what do I get in return? You get a good job, get a roof over your head, you get this. All right.
Yeah, it's fucked.
Innit? Yeah. That's what it takes, because they've got no loyalty to the country. Let's be honest. Whereas we have, because it's our country, we lived and born and bred here.
Yeah.
And we're going to say, no, that ain't right, that ain't British. It's not how we operate.
I also think that the people that are coming over are the people committing crimes, which creates more division amongst the people as well. I heard a story that there's a hotel housing about 600 migrants down in Barbican, and the migrants would go and rob the Waitrose there.
Yeah, I've seen the videos.
I was talking to some people some people there, and he was saying that the security guard said like they'll call the police, and the police said don't call us if it's less than £200. So these guys will just rob maybe £100 worth of meat or £100 whatever, £150.
Just let them
and you can't do anything. The security guards are helpless, and they've specifically said these guys are the ones in the hotel housing migrants. So we know that they're also committing crimes, and the police aren't going to do anything about it. So it's crazy.
Yeah, look, there's loads going on when it comes to this immigration stuff, man. I've seen those videos as well, and it's crazy. They just come in but it's not just happening here. It's happening. I've seen clips of it in Canada, seen it in the US.
Yeah, I saw in the US
just
as
walk
well.
in, grabbing what they want, leave. But even from your own population, you're getting that as well. Like, I know everyone likes to make it out. It's just a migrant.
No, of course.
It's not. There's a lot of people British born. Yeah, British born, whether you're white, black or brown, who are coming into stores and doing things like that and just robbing them blind and walking out, and you can't do shit. So
It's lawless.
it is, and I think that's what they're trying to. Remember, I told you, I think there has to be complete chaos and anarchy to the point where people are so desperate and say the good people are so desperate and had enough and say do something, and then they say ding ding, we've got the solution. Give up your biometrics, give us digital ITs. You were against them when we had the big C. See, this is why we need it. Okay,
Yeah.
this will solve it, and people. And it will get to that point and people will give into it. The majority of people will give into it. Even the ones that were jumping up and down, refusing it during the big C, will now be desperate, saying, oh, okay, fine.
Especially when they tap into the food supply. I think, you know, a lot of these stores now, you saw the video with Aldi and all these other supermarkets where you need to scan a barcode or something to get in. And you need to have an app or something like that. Amazon, for example, where...
But look how Tesco's do their club card now. Now it's done through, they'll say, they'll have something on the shelf and it will say, and when I go to my local Tesco's, I don't have a club card, I don't shop there often. But it will say, it'll be a yellow mark and it says £3. I go, what, £3? That's cheap. And then I'll look at it and I go, oh, that's for a club card customer. But actually, I've got to pay £5 for that.
Yeah.
Did you get it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But then that also, when you look at it from it, that's also shady as well, because it just shows you how corrupt the supermarket is. Because like, if you could sell it at £3, why aren't you selling it at £3? You're clearly making a profit out of it. Bullshit to inflation. You're now using inflation as your excuse to rise prices. But my point being is, they're using it's all on an app now, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't think you can even get a club card. I think it's done on the app only now. But yeah, you're right about Lidl. Have you seen that one? That old man. I wish I had that clip still. Where he went in and bought strawberries.
Yeah, that was what's his name? Piers Corbyn.
No.
Piers Corbyn's brother or something.
No, some old geezer, some old codger. He went in.
Yeah, it was Piers Corbyn.
Was it Piers Corbyn?
Yeah,
I thought he said Morgan there.
No, Jeremy Corbyn's brother.
Anyway, he went in there and he goes, all right, I want to buy these strawberries. And they're like, how much?
Yeah.
And he chucked the change on there and he walked out and they go, no, you can't go, you haven't paid. He goes, I have paid, there's the money. He goes, we don't accept cash anymore. And it was like, but what I found out...
tender, innit?
No, but what I found out is that's actually illegal. You get done for it. Because it's up to the establishment, that's the shop, the store, whatever. If they say they don't accept cash, then there's no...
Yeah,
you can't just chuck cash on there and walk.
He was trying to make a statement.
You better pay by card.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was Piers Corbyn.
And this is where a lot of people were saying, and I saw a woman going to a pub and she goes, oh, we don't accept cash here, madam. Like, really accept card payments or contactless or whatever. And she's like, so what? You're going to refuse me paying with legal tender? She goes, well, we're allowed to do it. And she goes, no, you're not allowed to. And this is where I listened to the black barrister, the black belt barrister.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. And he goes, actually, she goes, the customer's wrong. Yeah. Legally, they can turn around and say to you, we don't accept cash. And we only take card payments and you would have to pay with a card payment. And if not, then you just need to walk out. You would have no leg to stand on in court. So...
Yeah, and more companies are starting to do that now as well. Especially after the 19 with the big C.
Yep.
It was, yeah.
So look,
it's all unfolding.
It's all unfolding.
Yeah,
I feel like bit by bit, people aren't realizing what's coming and what's going on, and I think people need to be. And this is what I said. People need to be careful, question everything, because even if it sounds good, even the person telling you like them, from like I'm going to use Trump for example, he's probably the one politician who people do like, around the world in generally, and some people obviously hate him. Don't get me wrong, but. Even if you've got a character like that, you've got to look deep and say, what's really going on here, mate? Yeah, what are you really playing at? Because there's a lot of talk in America now of bringing the biometrics. I think they call it Agenda 2025.
They want to get that soon.
Yeah, Agenda 2025.
That's the thing, 2024 is coming to an end.
So
we're another year closer to whatever.
We could go to next year. Next year is going to be chaos, I think. I think it's going to be madness. Like proper chaos. So I was listening to David Icke, his reaction to Trumpy, we'll play it in that video anyway, but I want to go too deep into this because obviously this episode is going to come out after the conversation with Rob, and there's a lot of stuff in there I want to talk about. I've touched on some of it here, but I don't want to give it all away. But yeah, I just think there's sinister motives here, and I think people need to be careful, and I think this whole immigration thing is happening on purpose. The elites are very much controlling both parties, both sides, especially in the US, and creating the chaos. you know, there's going to be a reaction to the chaos, and then one party has to come out looking like the good guys and saying, hey, we got the solution, but actually the solution is the agenda of the elites.
Seems like it, yeah.
Anyway, look, let us know what you think. Just want to quickly state as well, we do have now up and running a Telegram channel. Yeah, and from what I understand, we're telling what I love about Telegram is what I love about Rumble. No censorship. Yeah, we can put whatever we want up there. So go check that out. Obviously, links will be in our about page, and obviously we'll try and put it in descriptions as well. We're on TikTok, doing pretty well on TikTok. Close to 5,000 followers on TikTok, so go check us out there. Not so great on Instagram, because Instagram seems to want to shadow ban me no matter how many pages we start up for us. TikTok's the same as well. Sorry, not TikTok. Twitter's or X is the same as well. Believe it or not, yeah, it's not the space for free speech, but as you would like to think. But yeah, definitely on TikTok, and we've started a Telegram, and that's the one I'm really excited about from a social media point of view. Is definitely Telegram, because there's no restrictions. We can say what we want and really interact with you guys. Go follow us on there. Obviously, give us a like, a share here. Go and watch the previous episode as well. So obviously, like I said, we've done this one before the one we're going to do with Tebral's friend Rob around MAGA and Trump. So go and watch that one. Yeah, go and watch all of them. We've done loads. We have remember, one random podcast, man. We don't do the same thing over and over again. We might revisit topics, but one thing we do is we're consistently random. Yeah, right. We've done one on Michael Jackson that's going to go up as well. So go and have a look at that. You know, our thoughts and our thought process around the whole allegations around Michael Jackson over the years before his untimely death. But yeah, loads of stuff out there. We've got loads of content out there. Go check it out. Give us algorithms that do not work in our favor. So if you're jumping on here and you're hearing it and you're liking it, then subscribe, hit the notification bell, and support the movement, man.
Give us some comments, engage with us.
Yeah.
Send us some videos, some topics that you'd like us to discuss. Get involved in the conversation.
Yeah. So like I said, until next time, like, share, and subscribe. I'm Cypher.
I'm Treble.
And we out.
To portion.